Hello, everyone, and welcome to Overexposed, a BWRM podcast where we delve into the ins and outs of running a real estate photography and videography business. My name is Dave Temple, and you can now watch the podcast on YouTube at BWRM_official or listen on your favorite podcast platform. This episode, we've finally bowed to peer pressure and decided to give the audience what it wants. It's up to you to decide if I actually said that or if this guy just edited the video and sound to make me sound like I said that. Today we speak to Maximilian van der Horst, aka Max, the Managing Director of BWRM Production. Welcome, Max.
Hey, Dave. Good to hear you, as I do all the time through these podcasts.
Yeah, it's going to be an odd one for you because not only are you on the podcast, but you're editing the podcast as well. So if you make any mistakes, you're just making more work for yourself later on. Now, you are currently based in Mauritius. The editing house is obviously based in Mauritius, but your accent tells me you're not originally from Mauritius. So where originally are you from?
I grew up in Cape Town, South Africa, in a suburb of called Durbanville. I stayed there until I was 18. Then I did not have really any idea what I wanted to do after school. So as a lot of South Africans were doing at that stage, I mean, this was back in 2000, the year 2000, 2001. Back in then, lots of South Africans was heading for London and England to find part-time jobs or jobs just for a year, like a gap year. And that's exactly what I went to go and do.
Whereabouts in London were you?
Well, a few places. I was in the northern part of Turnpike Lane for a while. I shared a house there with 10 people. Amazing, as you do.
That's not Finchley, is it?
No, it's Wood Green.
Wood Green, okay. I knew it was not far from there. I'm actually from Edgware, so not too far from Wood Green and that kind of way. North London, of course, the best London. So that's good.
Well, yeah, I stayed there for a year and a half, just doing odd jobs, literally construction, laborer, waitering service, security service, stuff as such, and sometimes all of it at the same time. But yeah, it was pretty low end stuff, but good entry just to it was pretty tough actually at some stage to, I stepped out of a I stepped out of a job once on the same day because I couldn't understand the Irish accent of the foreman. And basically they were making me sweeping scaffolding every day. So I was like, nah, to hell with this. I'm stepping out of this. But that was a pretty tough move because I was out without a job for about 3 weeks and no money and no food. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And London's not the place to be if you haven't got any money or food. It's not a great place to.
Yeah, it was a great learning school. Because then we stayed in a house with 10 people, so you share and you help each other. And there was many Australians there too, and a lot of New Zealanders actually too, doing exactly the same thing. This was a good experience, good learning curve. But throughout that period, I just stayed a year and a half. I decided to go back to South Africa after then, and decided to study sound engineering, actually.
So did the experience in London with all the different jobs and manual labour and all of those kind of things, did that at least taught you what you didn't want to do, presumably?
Yes, I think that's a good way of looking at that. I guess you get that, man, no, I want to go back home. I didn't mind. A lot of people were moaning about how cold it is and the rain and so on in England, but honestly, it didn't bother me too much. But I think in the end, I just wanted to go back home to make something better of just sweeping scaffolding and installing ductwork and, serving. We did a silver service for celebrity events, which was interesting. Also during that time, but I realized I don't want to be serving these people.
No, but that's a hell of a contrast between scaffolding in the daytime and silver service at night. So yeah, you definitely saw some variety.
It's funny, like literally I'd get home and I would be all dusty and dirty, and literally within 1 hour I need to get into a suit with a bow tie and end up at night to service all these high-end events that they book you in when you are saying you're free. So it's like, yeah, fine, I'll go and do it.
The funniest bit about that is that all of those celebrities didn't realize they were having their silver service delivered by a scaffolder.
Best part of all of it, it's true, yes. Yeah, I guess no idea. What's a funny story is actually one one of those events was serving the premiere of the Jackass movie, the first one. So we were we were in between all the Johnny Knoxville and all those guys from the crew, and serving them drinks and hanging out at their party. It got pretty wild.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been
Construction by day and serving these people by night, and then on weekends sometimes I did security work, but I was probably the worst security guard on the planet. So yeah, I think I've realized that's definitely not my path. Yeah.
So how did you jump from doing all these things that you didn't particularly want to do to learning sound engineering? Where did that come from?
Well, throughout school, high school, I actually was a pretty good drummer. I'm still playing the drums from time to time, but I got pretty good at that. And I played in some bands throughout high school. And during this time, I learned also to do some electronic music, which I wanted to keep doing. And I wanted to get back to that because there was a huge passion for this. And I decided that I wanted to go study sound engineering as a result, to get closer to musicians and learn better, how to work with music, how to make better sound mixes, how to just be involved in the music industry is what I wanted to do in the beginning.
I wonder how many times the I'm a musician and I don't know what to do with myself axis crosses. I bet it's
It's
quite
exactly
often.
it's exactly that, and I'm one of those. Um, um, Basically, yeah. So I went to study sound engineering because of that. I wanted to get better, and I was lucky enough to just as I finished the course, one of my friends was working at a production company in Stellenbosch, one of the wine regions in Cape Town, and they were working for a TV production company that made sports highlights shows and lifestyle magazine shows that was presenter driven. And they were searching for a sound engineer because they were using a contractor or something as such. And what happened? It's a strange story. What happened was I went to see the boss, and they said, "Yeah, sure, he'll get back to me." And I really, really wanted the job, so he said he'll talk to me again, but I just went back the next day regardless. And basically, then I think the sound engineer was there, caught sort of an idea of what's happening, so he didn't pitch up again, and well, something like that. And then what happened was there was 4 TV mixes to be done that week, and suddenly the boss said to me, "Look, Max, if you can pull this through, you get the job. Mix all 4 of those shows by the end of this week, and you're on board." So
Wow.
yeah, and that's really how it started. And basically, I was alone. There was no mentoring or anything in the studio.
Yeah.
I just had to do it, and I refused to be beaten. So actually, that first week was I did a 36-hour stint without going home because I wanted to make the deadlines, and I refused. I wanted that job. It's like, okay, I'm going to take it. And I knew it wasn't in the music studio and in the music direction, but I thought at the time, look, that's the foot in the door. That's the first step. Get some experience, get something behind your name, and you can build from there. It was the idea. So I said, well, damn it, I'm getting into this thing and I'll do it. So luckily what happened is after 36 hours, not going home, sleeping a little bit on the studio couch in between, I got those mixes done, and yeah, I got the job.
That's yeah. I mean, if the alternative is scaffolding, then 36 hours straight isn't such a bad thing, is it? So
Well, I tell you, it's tough. It was a rude awakening to our industry. And that's the post production industry can be pretty hardcore. So that was I suppose, all of the hard work in England and the hard work for this is just, it helps you build up, and it's like doing an 8-hour day is like, nah, whatever. Um,
yeah,
but doing a proper day's work, that was a good feeling getting through there, and seeing how the editors at that stage, the camera people, the producers were working at that company. Everyone was just working very hard. So yeah, it was a good way to get in. I was doing only sound mixes then for the TV shows. I did lots. I did maybe 200 that ended up on being on television on DSTV, which is sort of South Africa's cable network, multi-choice. Yeah, so that was a a good entry, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, how did you end up? How did you end up in Mauritius from there?
Through this business that I worked at, gained more experience in other tasks, which was eventually getting on the shoots with the camera guys, eventually getting to learn to edit. And I just wanted to mention something. This was back in the day before GoPros, before DSLR cameras, before Facebook, before Instagram, before YouTube, before all of this stuff. It was still a tape-based workflow back then. So it's insane, the difference from what that was and the process that had to be followed to create these TV productions. And it was nuts, and how long it used to take just to get footage from tape onto the computer, and then from the computer to tape, and then from the tape back to the broadcaster. It was insane.
Yeah,
Talking to someone about a next day delivery back then, they would laugh at you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
this was a long time ago, and even standard definition was still the norm. Anyway, so throughout that period, I worked there, I think, about 4 years, and throughout that time, I picked up experience in various things: camera work with the old PD 150s, which is tape-based cameras, and also learned to edit. This was also before the day of drones. So I used to be a human drone, which I wanted to point out. That was pretty, because we did a lot of what can I say, adventurous, high octane sports stuff. So often they'd
yep.
need a helicopter and a man or a person in a helicopter hanging out of it with a camera strapped in your hands. And I did a few of those, which, drones put me out of business as a joke.
Yeah,
No, not really, but the helicopter stuff was insane. That was really good. So to cut a long story short, I started searching for a new work because, as you normally are at a new job, you're not, well, and at least I wasn't paid well at all. But I was putting in the efforts and the hours, and I wanted to move on. I wanted to gain more experience, and I also saw that the company wasn't doing too great. So the writing was on the wall that it's just a matter of time before it's, there's going to be no work anyway. So I started putting out my CV and on a specific website back then. And I didn't really hear back from anyone. And, this is a funny story, and I don't mean any offense to anyone in Mauritius for saying this. But I didn't plan or think of or even know where Mauritius is at the time.
yeah,
It wasn't a plan. It was just not even a thought. I saw a job opportunity at a place in Port Louis, and to my stupidity, I thought it's somewhere in South Africa, in Durban or something. There's a place called Port Alfred, and there's another port something somewhere on the East Coast. So I thought, yeah, it's probably somewhere there, because I sent a lot of CVs out, and someone responded, and from this place, and I was like, what? Where is this? So let's just check out what this is. And I was like, whoa, this is Mauritius. There's someone this is the job in Mauritius. So when I realized that, I just said, that's it. I want that job. I want to go there. That sounds so awesome, like immigrating to another place, working in another country, tropical island. Who wouldn't want to do that? And so I was like, yes, this is it. So I'm going to throw everything at that, and I want that job. So I started communicating with the guy that I owe everything to for being able to get here, Jean-Claude Labat, which basically was running the business I ended up working for. He came to see me in Cape Town, did an interview with me there, and eventually he would say to me, I was the least experienced person of all the people he saw. But he just liked my attitude, because I kept bugging him and bugging him and bugging him. And I think he just saw I wanted it more than everybody else to get this position.
it seems to be a recurring theme so far, Max.
Well, I guess.
That's why I'm where I am. It's just sheer bloody mindedness. Sometimes it's as simple as that: determination, grit, and refusal to give up.
That's it. I suppose that's it. All sort of condensed into what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I finally ended up getting the job here in Mauritius. They flew me over. They gave me housing. They were insanely good to people with me, and they were really nice. And at this job, I learned it was funny. I was there also applying for a sound job, but a friend of mine, then a Mauritian friend of mine, got the sound job. And then he ended up being the sound engineer, and I got pushed into a video production direction, which I said, fine, I can do it. Because at that same time, during the negotiations to come here, it was about a year. That's in that year where I actually started, where I was forced to learn to edit, because at the previous business, at one day, like the sound story earlier, there weren't any editors to edit a show one day, and it's like, Max, you gotta have to do this. So I did it and learned that, and basically then that forced me, not forced me, it allowed me to be able to learn much more about video production. So yeah, I joined the business, and through there, geez, we worked a lot of various fields in production. There's a lot of stuff that I was doing or people and creatives I was dealing with, from producers, directors, ad agencies, creative directors, etc. So we dealt with all of these people in Mauritius. So you learn a lot when you're sort of in production and dealing with many sort of these corporate clients. And I had to dabble in a few of those tasks as well throughout my stint with this business. But yeah, that's there's a lot in there that I can talk about, but I suppose we don't have all day.
Yeah. No, I think the fact that you get thrown into these things or you dive into these things, it's not necessarily fun at the time, but there's something to be said for being thrown in at the deep end and having to sink or swim, and that sounds like what you've done. And you've seen opportunities and thought, well, let's just give it a go and jump in and see what happens.
Yeah, I had a few of those, but were swim or die scenarios. But it's not that I didn't like it. The challenge was good, and at the time when you're working very hard, you might be moaning or you're tired, but the payoff is when you actually get it right, and then you just feel
Yeah,
amazing. So and then you feel good at something, and or at least you feel like you've done something right. So yeah, that those do or die scenarios happened a few times, and um, lots of experience gained. We've did a lot of tight deadline style work. We had a couple of big clients that we worked a lot of productions for here in Mauritius, both local and internationally. And dealing with all the crew and all the people involved, you just learn from all of them. You observe and repeat, observe, watch and repeat, and
yeah.
yeah, I think suppose everything. I didn't study for any of this other than the sound engineering, which today I don't really use at all, other than once in a while having to deal with our podcasts. um,
Yep.
but yeah, everything else has been in-house experience, on the job experience, which I just feel is it's really that's valuable. That's what got me
It,
to be here.
absolutely. So, talking of getting you here, you've managed to make your way to Mauritius, and obviously production, which is you started, as in you were the first person in to BWR in production in 2017. What were your initial thoughts when you met with Guy and he outlined the plans he had?
Guy, okay, so the story with Guy is I'll skip the how I got to meet Guy a bit because that was through Ryan, and he did a good job introducing me. But eventually meeting Guy and Andrew at the Voila Bagatelle hotel in a conference center was a very good meeting. And I looked at the two guys, and it looked to me like they have their, like we say, their ducks in a row, and they have their
Yep.
stuff sorted, and they know what they want to do, and they've got a clear, very clear plan. And I really like that. At the time, I was talking to some other people for also opportunities, and this one just stood out for me because it was unique. There was a specific plan that I really liked, and a clear vision. And also, I don't know, I got along with Guy and Andrew, and yeah, I thought initially that it's a crazy plan, and I don't know if there's so much work for a small, relatively what we were used to in the production company, small rates.
Mm.
So I didn't know if that's a long-term thing, but I thought this is definitely the next step for me. And basically at that stage, this was 2016 or 2017 sometime. Before we actually started,
Yep.
then it was called Boem, unfortunately. Boem. Um, yeah, so I was at the previous business, and we sort of were in a crossover phase where it also looked like the work might be drying up for various reasons. And it looked like, because I'm an expat, I have to be on a permit here to work. I can't just come here and work. So and that's all tied to working for someone, and there's other ways, but I was on a permit like this, and it was coming to the end, and I felt really threatened to lose that permit because of how things were going with the business. And I've had a huge fear of, because at the time I had a young daughter, she was just a baby still, and I had this big fear that I'm going to have to be sent back to South Africa because I can't physically be in Mauritius. So it was a complicated situation for me. And when negotiating with Guy in the beginning, that was one of the things that basically said, right, beyond the great ideas that they've had, this was another thing that I knew. Okay, I could, through this at least, there's a permit to be had, and I can keep staying in Mauritius, which was one of my personal goals, is to continue
Yep.
living here, to be with my daughter. So that was massive, and that was a huge jump for me to actually quit the previous business, hand in my resignation, go there and say I'm done amicably, and get into then Boem with all of you guys. That was huge.
That's a hell of a leap of faith when you consider that, your very being in Mauritius relies on this working, right? If you jump in and it doesn't work, or if you jump in and it's not what you thought, then maybe you're off.
Yeah, and I didn't know. Well, I thought I could trust Guy and Andrew from the discussions we've had, but you don't know them yet. You don't know the people yet. Like, there could be anybody. It could be right or wrong. But I think I read it correctly, and the guys, they told me the right stuff. I asked a bunch of questions at the time. At our conference, there was several guys there, and I think yeah, that was great that I was the guy you guys liked. I'm very happy, and yeah, now we've come so far since then. A lot has changed. A lot has changed.
Were you aware at the time that real estate for videography was a thing, or did you have any awareness of it at all?
No, not at all. And if you, not at all, not as big as it is in Australia and New Zealand, or elsewhere, but definitely not here or back in South Africa. It's not the same at all. So it wasn't a thing. We would do big productions that would take weeks to do for a villa, for instance. And it's like, okay, huge budget, a lot of things, get helicopters, get TV crew, get lights, spend days in a big budget. So I was not aware or used to this at all. And with the workflows that was being set up, I don't even think that existed a year or two prior to we started doing this. And what I mean is working remotely so quickly, and editing work and sending it back and forth internationally that quick. It was unheard of. It's just something that I don't. I'm talking under correction, but I don't think it has existed then at all. We must be one of the first to have done that.
I think from my memory, while we were developing the process, things were improving. Obviously, internet speeds improved to make it worthwhile. The technologies available improved to make things worthwhile and work better. So it was like we timed it absolutely perfectly, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the beginning, also the workflows was different. Don't know if you remember that you guys in Australia were setting up the projects, loading in the footage, creating proxies, creating the projects in Premiere, and then we did the editing on our end and just sent it back to you like that as an edit in Premiere instead
Yeah,
of sending you final
yeah,
edits. There's a huge difference in workflows. You used to set that stuff up, which meant the members used to have skill in Premiere Pro or a bit of editing skill back then, which it started to become an issue. And this was obviously, now it's solved. Now no one needs to touch an editing software.
I haven't opened Premiere Pro for about 7 years, I think. I just haven't gone anywhere near it. There's no need.
Amazing. It's insane. Yeah, just how much that's changed. And I must mention Andrew in here too. That's helped us set up a whole lot of automation. He's done an amazing job too. And in the beginning, him and Jackie gave me a bunch of their sort of edits to learn from how the real estate edits look like. So it really started working with them and Guy, Jackie, and Andrew really on the look and the style and how these real estate edits must be. And it was so different back then, because then also I am not sure if drones were available, but not gimbals as widely as it is now. Everyone was still shooting on tripod and slider. And that was completely different so to how things go now, and gimbal has taken over.
So I've got down here that the first month you were operating, which was September 2017, according to my numbers at least, you completed 32 videos pretty much solo. And then the second month that went straight up to 135 videos. And I think at this point, I remember we decided that you might need some help. How hectic were those first days and months?
It wasn't that bad in the beginning. Those 30 jobs was handleable, manageable is a better word. Those first jobs was manageable. But then we did decide we will need already our first staff, which was amazing, member. And so we started expanding, which also led to us finding Kareen, which was our first employee. And we had to then, I was operating from my living room on an old iMac, I think Guy's old iMac for those first couple of jobs. But obviously we realized, okay, now if there's employees coming, we'll need an office. So we found a lovely place not too far from where I live. And that was the beginning for our team. Kareen joined and she helped us do a lot of the first works where we were still heavily dependent on the original workflow of the proxies. And I almost want to say some of the stuff was templated, which can't be done anymore, because then slider forth, slider back, slider up, slider down, whatever, it could be templated. Now, not so much. But so she helped us a lot with a lot of the work, a lot of the After Effects, Google Earths, you name it. She did it all. So she was our first employee.
So we've come a long way, as you said, in 7 years. Can you sort of outline who we've got in the team in Mauritius now and what they do?
Yes, I will. I just wanted to mention Kareen came, Hubert came, which did a massive amount of work for us. The two of them left amicably eventually. Then at that stage, the next guy to come was Shanand, which joined us. I'm talking under correction, I think in 2018, which basically he's still around, and he's basically been with us nearly since the beginning. And he's now in a position where he's practically running the show when I'm not around. He's probably even running the show while I'm here, because they're probably somewhere in that direction doing work right now.
Yeah.
So he's basically I want to say he's my protege. I've literally taught this guy from the ground up, and he knows everything about what it is we do. And he's our star. He's one of our star editors here. And so Shanand joined us. He's still around. He's the longest remaining of the first people that joined us. Then we had Natasha and Savesh and Nigel sort of coming at the same time. That was also due to growth as we kept growing. I think, Dave, the stats are, and I'm under correction again, but I think the last time we checked, it's 20% growth year on year for the video business of each previous year, something as such. So, but that's led us to having to, I think on average, had to employ 1 to 2 people per year so far, and it's increasing. So the team has grown, and by that stage, can't remember exactly what year it was. Actually, I do. It must have been 2020. Savesh and Nigel and Nat joined us in that year, and 6 months later, boom, COVID hit, and we're in a very, very interesting situation, as everybody were in the world. But yeah, Savesh, Nat, and Nigel just joined. 6 months later, we had to basically, um, literally, there was a rumor that lockdown was coming, and it wasn't officially announced or nothing. And we said, guys, girls, take your gear, go home now. And next day, boom, official notice. No one is allowed to leave your homes. And we were in lockdown for a long time, but that was a big thing, trying to operate a team of, I think we were 5 then, remotely.
But I mean, even during that period, and I know lockdown and COVID and all those things was extremely disruptive, but we've had not hurricanes, what are they called? Tropical storms over where you are? Cyclones. We've had cyclones over there, and the team never misses a beat. Like, it's not like they're in the office during the cyclone. They disperse, it's distributed, but the work still gets done. It's uninterruptible, really. It's great.
It speaks volumes for the team, because we're all massively dedicated to make these deadlines. And I'm not saying we've never missed a deadline, but we try our best to maintain the fast deliveries. So that's very serious for us. We take it very serious to do our jobs as best as we can. COVID was pretty hardcore. But we were actually probably the best prepared of everyone for COVID, because we were already working remotely. We just the issues was just working slow internets from people's homes, and maybe I'm massively for working together in an office rather than remote work, because you've got that support, and you could immediately help each other out right there and then. You can check on someone's computer what's happening, what's the issues, if there's an issue, why is Premiere crashing, or why is this footage like this, or etc. And you can immediately just help someone. And when you do that remotely, it's very difficult. So that wasn't fun, but COVID did make our business boomed, and we were insanely busy. Insanely, the numbers went out of this roof for us. Even so much so that we had to build 5 editing suites remotely during that time, and then get them somehow to the editors' homes, which was quite challenging, but we managed to do that.
Yeah. Well, for me, the most impressive thing about all of this, really, and I think where we're more or less unbeatable, is the turnaround. So, can you give us an idea of the usual time between someone sending an edit and getting it back?
Yeah. So, dare I say, next morning, but not all the time. We were always wanting to do a next day delivery. That was Guy's vision, I think, in the beginning. That's what we pushed for doing, and we've managed to become so efficient at what we do, that we've literally we've done, Dave, I think we've done about 12,500, nearly 13,000 edits by now. So we've managed to really iron out, where do you lose time? Where can we've scrutinized everything. So we've managed to really make the business very efficient, coupled with some of Andrew's great work and your great work with the calendars and the invoicing systems and so on. But so next day, we can do next day. It really just depends on the amount of footage is the big thing that determines for us how quickly we can turn around a project. So within our products, the most of the usual products, if we get that, say, by around noon, 1 o'clock Mauritian time, there's a very good chance that you will have it back in the next morning.
Yeah. I mean, and just to give you a comparison, in my area, the best video producer in my area, who's a competitor, will regularly turn things around in more than a week.
Whoa.
And I'm able to turn it around next day.
Jeez.
So, it just shows how that gives us a huge advantage when we're talking to our clients. And it's very difficult to compete with somebody who can just deliver a video the next day while still being asleep. You just come home, you upload it to the team, you go to bed, and in the morning it's done.
This is crazy, and it's a pleasure to do those. But it's even for me still, like, thinking we can probably run at the moment 20, 30 jobs on a day. and get it out the next day. That's probably our capacity as it stands. Our team kept growing, so I just wanted to go through. So Nat and Nigel left amicably, but then we had to get in Ruben, which was a rare find. He's an amazing guy, experienced guy. We got in Gary. The team kept growing over the last few years. Fardeen came, Jason came, Nitish came, Chetan came, and all of them has got their story. And now we're a team of I think we're 11 here now. So, and everyone is at various levels, but very capable. We found ways where everyone can help everybody out on every project. So we have a system where we have a couple of or several main guys that does the quality assurance and knows what to look for, but everybody else has got their hands on all the projects. And it's amazing just how we work together as a team to get this workloads under control and get this done. I'm very proud of what we have built here, and how quickly we can continue to, because it's a challenge to keep up with the workloads, and just having been able to do that thus far, it's something we are very proud of.
And of course, we mustn't forget Critty, who does the social media management from over there as well.
I was getting to Critty next. So we had Trish here that helped us out to set up a couple of things and help us find Critty. Critty reminded me a little bit of, well, I wouldn't say me, but more sort of the same scenario where we saw a bunch of candidates that was much more experienced, but Critty's attitude just said, nah, forget about all these other guys. Critty is the one. We like her. She's got the will. She wants to do this. She wants to be here. And yeah, she's lovely to have around. She's now handling all the social media stuff with you, Dave. You're helping a lot with this. But she's been with us now for almost a year. And yeah, it's lovely to have her around and to continue to expand our service and our offerings.
And do you want to talk a bit about the partnership that you've found with PML?
Yeah, thank goodness for this. I wanted to touch, so there's a few things here. The PML's Polytechnics Mauritius Limited. It's a university that offers various courses, and some of it is IT and multimedia and so on, that luckily for us is covering all of the software that we need and that we use. So there's a whole 1 or 2 year course just for that. Where we found and where I've made a lovely relationship with the university, where we can find internships and students that we can mold into our workflows. And so far, that was Fardeen, JS, and Jason, that's currently full-time employed. They came from internships, and now they're full on in production. They're full on working. And there's even a person at the university that's an intern placement officer. That's her job, is to find companies for the students to go to. So it's an insanely good relationship, symbiotic relationship we have with this university, because finding editors has proved to me to be hard, and that's because, and I don't disrespect any editors out there. I just mean that when you find a guy that's stuck or a girl that's stuck in their ways, it's hard to make them unlearn their old habits, because we are turning the jobs over so quickly. We know what we're doing, and we know that we have a way to approach that, and you have to, people that's not taught into that specific method will not be able to keep up with us. That's just not, it's not going to happen. And I've seen that over and over. And so there's very clear ways how to do our work, which allows you then, if you follow that, to be quite creative also, to come up with your own sort of ways. But there's this process as well for us and for this. And I've now seen trying to teach that to someone that's already experienced and having them learn or unlearn their what do you call your motor? What do you call that? Your
I know what you mean. Yep. Muscle memory.
That's the one. So to unlearn muscle memory and all this, if that takes a while. We've managed it. We've definitely done that with some of the editors that came to work with us, but I definitely prefer to take on interns, take on the students from the PML, getting great people from there, great relationship from there. And so far we'll continue searching students from there. I'm involved now also a bit more. They ask me there to go and talk sometimes, or be involved at sort of now recently they've asked me to become involved in class level. We'll still see where that's going. I haven't done it yet. But I think it's going to be they call it micro level, where I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity for talent scouting. So, and getting to meet the students and actually find, the good people, because I'm sure that our business is going to continue growing if the trend continues. So we'll need those, and we'll need that relationship, and we'll definitely need to continue fostering this lovely relation that we do have with PML.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I think I'm right in saying, although I'm sure you'll correct me, we're sort of averaging 300 videos a month across the year, all pretty much delivered next day. We've got a team with a pathway so that they know that they can improve their skills. And like you said, it's a process, but also with creativity as well.
I would like to add that the team is very happy doing the jobs that we're doing. We're very amped to get this done. We've split up now into doing a day and a night shift, which even helps us improve our turnaround times. And we're probably going to keep that as a permanent fixture now. We're not doing a 24-hour shift just yet, but that might come, so that we could keep up with workloads for other countries around the world when we get there. But yeah, I'm also happy to say, and perhaps I can send some pictures. We're doing our lovely staff party meeting next weekend. We will go electric go-karting and bowling. So we have a little thing here in the business where
electric go-kart.
Yeah, so it's a new indoor go-kart park that they've built here. And it's pretty fun. We're going to do it.
Yeah, awesome. That's been really interesting and informative, Max. So thanks so much to Max and the team for providing such a great service to our members. I know how much everyone appreciates the work you do, because it's all I heard about at the conference. And I think you are the king of selfies, having got selfies with every single person at the conference during your time there as well. That's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed listening, and we'd love you to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to see more BWRM content, please check the description for our other social links. And if you're interested in becoming a BWRM member, please visit bwrm.com/creative, and you can arrange to chat to one of the directors. Thanks again, Max and the team, and see you next time.
Cheers. Thanks.